You know what? It's so funny actually, guys, but so many times I start thinking about did my team made a reservation in my favorite place? And I was like, I think there is nothing like when you call someone like champion, when you hear the champion, it's like, how can I actually complain about anything? Like if you're like, if you won.
The clay at Caja Magica was still being prepared. The tournament had not even begun. And yet Spain had already chosen its queen, and it was not Aryna Sabalenka. She owns this tournament. 3 titles: 2021, 2023, 2025. She dominated Indian Wells this year. She dominated Miami. She posted her arrival video from Caja Magica, smiling, full of champion confidence. Hola Madrid, I'm back. Within hours, it was lost in the noise. Alex Eala landed in Spain, and suddenly, the Mutua Madrid Open's own social media began pushing her content above everything else. Her Australian Open press conference reached 196,000 views this season. Sabalenka's reached 9,000. Same event, same timing. Spain was already celebrating before the draw had even been announced. Back in the Philippines, the reaction felt familiar, the same kind of nationwide attention once seen with Manny Pacquiao. That same energy, that same intensity, except now it is happening on clay, inside Sabalenka's own stronghold. Eala is ranked number 44. She opens against a qualifier. She lost in Stuttgart just days ago. And somewhere in that locker room, Aryna Sabalenka is looking at numbers that do not seem real and feeling the weight of it. That silence says everything. Subscribe now, because what is happening in Spain right now around the world, number one, is one of the most unexpected moments this sport has seen in years. The draw was confirmed on April 20th. Eala versus a qualifier. If she gets through, Elise Mertens likely waits in round 2. On paper, it looks manageable. In reality, the entire tournament atmosphere had already shifted toward her. The Mutua Madrid Open's digital team had been tracking what many are calling the Eala effect days before a single match was played. When she arrived at Caja Magica for her first practice, Donna Vekic, a Paris 2024 Olympic silver medalist and one of the most respected players on tour, posted her on Instagram with just one word: Friday. No explanation, no context. A player of that level highlighting Eala like a headline event. That is not how the sport usually works for a world number 44. It is not how it works for anyone outside the top 10. But something changed around Alex Eala in 2025, and no one has fully explained it since. To understand why Spain is reacting this way, you have to go back to Miami last year. Eala entered as a wild card. She was not expected to make an impact. Then she beat Iga Świątek. Then she beat Madison Keys. A 19-year-old from the Philippines taking down 2 of the biggest names in the sport back-to-back at a WTA 1000 event. It was something the sport had not seen in years. The crowd became part of the story. Filipino fans traveled, stayed up late across time zones, and filled the stands to watch someone who represented them succeed at that level. Sports journalist TJ Manitok described it clearly after Miami. The Philippines had been waiting for someone like Manny Pacquiao again. Not just a top athlete, but someone who stops a nation. When Pacquiao fought, streets emptied, people gathered around screens. Everything paused. That level of impact does not transfer easily to another sport or another generation. But when it does, it is unmistakable. Madrid is feeling that now. Sabalenka understands that none of this is personal. She showed it in her arrival video. Relaxed, smiling, training with Paula Badosa, comfortable in a place where she has already won 3 times. That is what makes the situation so unusual. She has done everything right. She is playing the best tennis of her career. She came into this clay season after winning back-to-back WTA 1000 titles. Indian Wells was dominant. Miami was dominant. She beat Elena Rybakina in the semifinal and Coco Gauff in the final with authority. By every standard, she is the top player in the world right now, but the crowd is not focused on standard measures. Eala's run at Indian Wells this year added to the story. She defeated Diana Yastremska in a match that lasted 2 hours and 43 minutes, finishing close to midnight. The stands should have been empty. They were not. Fans stayed. One sign in the front row read, "Leben Alex," meaning fight. When she won the 3rd set, the noise was louder than anything else at the tournament that week. A day-in-the-life video featuring her became the most viewed content of the entire 2026 Indian Wells event, not just among certain groups, but overall. The tournament has existed since 1976. That is the scale of what followed her into Madrid. Eala herself has stayed grounded through all of this. After her Indian Wells loss to Clara Towson in the third round, she did not overreact. She spoke openly about needing to improve on clay. She acknowledged her loss in Stuttgart, where Leylah Fernandez beat her 6-1, 6-4 at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. It was a clear defeat. She entered Madrid with a 1-2 record on clay and understood that. She told reporters, "This part of the season is about learning and building toward Roland Garros in May. The French Open begins May 18th. Madrid and Rome are preparation." She is already thinking ahead. That mindset is part of what makes her difficult to dismiss. This is not a player relying on hype alone. She reached the semifinals of the ASB Classic in Auckland in January, losing to Wang Xinyu. She made quarterfinal runs in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the Philippine Women's Open in Manila. That Manila event had its own impact. It brought crowds the WTA had never seen at that level in the region. Eala lost in the quarterfinal to Camila Osorio, but later described the event as the highlight of her year because of what it meant for tennis in her home country. Now she is ranked number 44 after dropping from a career-high 29 following her Miami exit, where Karolina Muchova defeated her 6-0, 6-2 inches, the round of 16. That result cost her 270 ranking points. The rise slowed. 3 straight round of 1-6 exits in Linz, Miami, and Indian Wells created questions. Some began to wonder if her earlier success had peaked too quickly. Madrid now becomes her chance to respond. The draw itself is challenging across the board. Sabalenka is in the top half with Mira Andreeva and Elina Svitolina. Rybakina leads the bottom half alongside Goff, Jessica Pegula, and Victoria Mboko. The field includes 96 players, 76 direct entries, 12 qualifiers, and 8 wildcards, including Venus Williams and Paula Badosa. There are no easy paths here. Eala's early rounds may look manageable, but in a WTA 1000 event on clay, that can change quickly. Sabalenka enters needing to defend points and chase a 4th Madrid title. She won here in 2025, 2023, and 2021. That is dominance. She also won the Australian Open this year. By every measure, she is the most successful active player right now. Another title in Madrid would strengthen that position even further heading into Roland Garros. But defending a title does not guarantee crowd support. And right now, the energy in Madrid feels different. It is shifting. What Spain is responding to is not just performance, it is a story. Eala trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor. She developed her game on Spanish clay, in a system built by the greatest clay court player ever. She understands the surface. She understands the environment. And that connection resonates with the crowd, even if it is not always spoken. When the Mutua Madrid Open officially begins on April 21st, the atmosphere around her matches will not match her ranking. Sabalenka will receive the respect of a champion. The scheduling, the seeding, the recognition, all of that is expected. But atmosphere is something different. It is created in real time. And from the moment Eala arrived, that atmosphere began to shift. Sabalenka has already been asked about the attention Eala is receiving. She has handled it with professionalism. But at her level, no player is unaffected when the focus moves elsewhere, especially at a tournament she has dominated. She feels it. The only question is how she responds. History suggests she responds strongly. She has handled pressure before. The 2023 Australian Open, the Miami final this year. She has never stepped back from big moments. But this situation is new. Competing for attention, for the feeling of a tournament, against someone not even in her section of the draw, that is what makes this moment unique. Not a loss, not a result, but the realization that the spotlight has shifted. Eala enters her opening match with a 1-2 clay record this season and limited experience on the surface at this level. She knows it. Her team knows it. The fans know it. And they are showing up anyway, holding their Laban signs, staying late, watching closely. Because for them, this is more than a match. It is a moment. That is why this feels like one of the most unexpected coronations in recent tennis, not defined by titles or rankings, but by presence. A 20-year-old from the Philippines, ranked number 44, opening against a qualifier, while the world number 1 and 3-time champion finds herself sharing the spotlight in her own arena. Sabalenka will compete. She may win this tournament again. The conditions suit her game. The altitude at Caja Magica favors power, and few players hit harder when in form. The case for her success remains strong, but results and stories are not always the same. And right now in Madrid, before the first ball is even struck, the story belongs to someone else. The crowd is behind her, the tournament is promoting her, millions are watching her. And the champion who built this stage has seen her own moment quietly fade into the background. That is how a sport begins to change. Not all at once, but in moments like this, when attention shifts. When energy moves, when something new takes hold. Madrid has chosen, Spain is watching. And Aryna Sabalenka, the best player in the world right now, is standing in the middle of it, feeling something that no title can fully control.